Hi, I'm Tim from Elmo Wine and Liquor. Today we are going to make some homemade cocktails and then compare them side by side to some of the pre-made cocktails that we sell in the store as well. So I am going to start out with a classic Manhattan, which is one of my go-to drinks, and it is a very simple recipe using rye, whiskey, and sweet vermouth. If you like a sweeter Manhattan, you can always substitute for bourbon, which, because of that corn content, will give you a little bit more sweetness to it. I like the rye because it adds a little spice, whereas the sweet vermouth adds the sweetness to it. So we're going to go 2 parts rye whiskey to 1 part sweet vermouth, and I am using my single barrel Sazerac rye and a Bruno Marino Spanish sweet vermouth. I find this to be a good middle of the road vermouth. So we're going to mix that. We're going to grab our Angostura bitters, put a little dash of that in, then we are going to mix it. For Manhattan, you want to mix, not shake. I probably could have put a little bit more ice in here. Typically, I will drink my Manhattans on the rocks. So I would finish mixing this and garnish it with a nice Luxardo cherry if you so choose. But traditionally, a Manhattan is served up, which means in a nice glass without the ice. So it's gotten nice and chilled, and then we are going to strain it into a Manhattan glass. What we're going to do is try that side by side with a pre-made Courage and Stone Classic Manhattan. This is also with rye and sweet vermouth. I'm just going to add a little bit more ice to that glass and give that a mix to chill it down a little bit, so we're comparing chilled drink to chilled drink. And grab that. Using kind of a makeshift strainer here. All right. So the pre-made one smells pretty sweet, whereas I get a lot more of the rye characteristics on my homemade one. I'll try the homemade one first. With that rye, you get a nice little spice to it, subtle sweetness from the sweet vermouth with some of those bitter root flavors from the vermouth, and then that bitters kind of gives you a little finish on it that doesn't leave your mouth too sweet. Great, well-balanced Manhattan. I would be happy to drink that if it wasn't 10 o'clock in the morning. This one does smell a little bit sweeter. I do get a little more cherry note on this too. Definitely a lot sweeter on the pre-made, but there is a hint of that rye spice as well. Definitely some cherry in there in this one. That's the thing, even with a homemade classic Manhattan, there are a lot of people that like to put a little of that cherry juice in when they're making it to give it a little bit brighter flavor. Overall, not a bad pre-made Manhattan. I would be happy to throw that in my suitcase for traveling. If I'm at home, I'm going to make my own from scratch. I prefer it a little bit with that little bit richer spice to it than the sweetness of the pre-made one. But that's a great alternative for about $5 as opposed to buying the more expensive ingredients, which will average out to a lower cost per drink over time. If you're somebody that has one once in a great while, that pre-made is a great option for you. So, I'm going to move on to the next cocktail. All right, next up, we are going to do a classic daiquiri. This is rum, traditionally a white rum, lime juice, and simple syrup. Goes great in the tropics, usually not when I'm wearing a jacket, but it is what it is. Today, I am going to substitute some lemon juice for lime juice, which will give it a little bit more of a tart fresher flavor. Tend to like my drinks a little less sweet. We're going to go with the lemon juice today. Start by filling a cocktail shaker with some ice. Then grab your favorite clear rum. We are going to do 2 parts rum to 1 part fresh lemon juice. And 1 part simple syrup. Go a little bit lighter on the simple syrup for my personal preferences, but you can feel free to adjust as you see fit for yourself. Put the top on. We're going to shake for about 15 to 20 seconds. And then strain it into our glass. And we have a fresh daiquiri. Garnish it with a lemon. This is called On the Rocks Classic Daiquiri. Strain that over the ice as well. All right, so we got our homemade one with the lemon on it and our pre-made one without the lemon. And this is lime, so you can smell it right off the bat. Get a lot of lime on the pre-made one, whereas there's a lot of lemon on the homemade. It really overpowers that simple syrup, so it's not too sweet on the finish, but sweet enough where you don't feel like you're drinking straight lemon juice. So really well balanced, a nice refreshing cocktail. The On the Rocks Daiquiri is very good. It is a little bit more viscous, a little bit thicker and richer. It is definitely got a really robust lime, but it finishes a lot sweeter than my homemade one. So for somebody like me that doesn't like them quite as sweet, I'd prefer to go the homemade route because I can control the sweetness level by putting in a little bit less simple syrup. But if you don't mind the sweet, and it's not overly sweet, the On the Rocks Daiquiri is a great option. And again, you're at a lower cost up front, but a higher cost per cocktail with the pre-made drinks. But if you only want 1 or 2 for the summer, you're going to a friend's pool, grab one of those and you have yourself a nice little cocktail. Easy, breezy. You don't have to shake and cut lemons and limes and all that fun stuff. You don't really even need to shake it up. You can just pour it right over the ice if you want. So that's our daiquiri comparison. And for our third comparison, we are going to do a classic Negroni. So a classic Negroni is made with London Dry Gin, Campari, and sweet vermouth. And the classic Negroni is equal parts gin, Campari, and vermouth. It's originally created in Italy as a kind of a refreshing afternoon cocktail, and it's something that I find myself enjoying in the summertime. The Campari is a kind of a bitter liqueur, which adds some flavor. You get like an orange, like a bitter orange flavor from it. And then our sweet vermouth, of course, adds some sweetness and adds some different herbal root flavors to it. And so we're going to put equal parts of those 3 in. We're going to mix it up really well. And then traditionally it would be garnished with an orange or a burnt orange. I, of course, don't have any oranges on hand, so we are not going to garnish it today. And then that is all mixed up. Get some ice in this one, and we're going to be using Tanqueray's pre-made Negroni. Pour a little in there. Looks a little darker than mine, so they're probably using a slightly different type of vermouth for it. Give that a good mix. So mine actually smells a little sweeter this time. The pre-made one has a really nice bitter orange nose to it. Bitter orange does come across, that Campari flavor. That nice bitterness settles in on the finish. I do get some of the characteristics of the gin. The juniper is prevalent up front. A little bit of sweetness mixed with that bitterness. Just great, really refreshing cocktail. Even though I smell the bitterness on this, the bitter orange note does not come across on the palate as much. It's a lot lighter and sweeter than I would have expected. There is some juniper in there, not as prevalent as mine. I'm going to put a splash of orange bitters in here just to see if that changes anything for it, since I didn't have the orange to garnish. Yep, that adds that little layer of bitterness, little layer of orange as well. I would definitely take the homemade Negroni as opposed to the pre-made, but again, time and place. It's way easier and more convenient to grab a bottle of this and pour it over ice than it is to buy 3 different ingredients and mix them up yourself. Mix it yourself. You want to control those flavors. You can always adjust the levels of gin and Campari and vermouth, make it a little less sweet, a little more bitter, a little bit more juniper forward, whatever fits your preference as opposed to the pre-made. But again, nothing wrong with that. You're going on a trip, you like Negronis, grab a bottle of the Tanqueray Negroni, and you're good to go. So that was our cocktail comparison episode. Pre-made to homemade. Hope you found it enjoyable. If you have another cocktail that you've seen in a pre-made package that you want us to do a comparison of, please let us know. Or if you have a preference of pre-made cocktail brands or something you've had in the past, let us know that as well. Look forward to hearing from you. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Cheers.